God, may the words of my mouth and the meditation in each heart be acceptable in your sight, for you are our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Amen. And so today we move to one more Sunday during our celebration of creation. And so last week, you may remember, we had Ocean Sunday. And this week we celebrate the fauna and flora of the world. I use that version of the gospel because I love the language that Peterson uses, because it's like basically easy to understand. And that whole idea from the gospel when Jesus was talking about the flowers and the birds, and I thought, yes, God knows. God knows everything the world needs. Now, I have to do a correction from last Sunday. I was informed by one of our naturalists in the congregation. I said, because you know people do tell me about these things. So last week I was talking about how sometimes the Forest Service does burns. And I think I used them a wrong term, because I am told they are prescribed burns. And that's because I use controlled, and I understand the Forest Service has lost control of more than one of those burns and actually wreaks some havoc. So now they are prescribed burns. So now I've done my due diligence in correcting that error. Welcome back, by the way. I've seen people everywhere who are back. So as I was thinking about this whole idea of God knowing, I realized, and actually we discussed this in Bible study this week, I realized that when we say, look at the birds of the air, right? They don't do anything and God takes care of them, but they don't just sit there and worms appear, or fruit, or whatever they eat. They have to do a little bit of stuff. You know, they have to go and get it. It's kind of like, it's there for you, but you got to find it. It's like a big game of hide and seek, maybe, or a scavenger hunt of some kind. So when things are like that in the world, and all of you I know, we saw them, and thank you, by the way, Elizabeth, for the wonderful slides that went with our reading. And I have a special love for cats. Big cats, not little ones. Big cats. And seeing that young lion, female lion, it was kind of really cool. And then I thought about, well, you know, God provides. God knows what lions need. Lions are not vegetarians. Lions need meat, as some of us do, who are carnivores. Anyway, and so there are animals, and you know, I can't watch any of those things. I just get so upset. I get upset because there are people taking the pictures, right? The movies. They should go out there and stop that. But then I think, no, not really. Because God knows what needs to happen. And when things don't go well, there's only one problem. It's not God. It's not nature. It's us. You look at some of the things that happen with mudslides. You know why they happen? Because we've taken the trees away that are holding that soil in place. And you know, even though we do prescribed burns, God has always managed to know when a forest needs to be thinned. And a lightning strike will come, and still does, and thins that forest beautifully. And nobody has to stop it. Nobody has to put up, you know, brakes to stop the fire from spreading. But we have decided, and I'm speaking we generically of humanity, we have decided we know better than God. Well, we act like it, don't we? I mean, it's like, no, we don't like that there. So we don't want to have wetlands. We're going to fill it all in. And then we're going to build on it. And then we're going to be surprised when the floods come and cover everything up. And we decide, well, no, we can really build right next to the ocean. Right next to the ocean. I can remember when I was young, and we went down A1A on a trip. There was nothing on the ocean side, nothing. Everything was on the other side of A1A. Now there's stuff on that side, and we are surprised when the hurricanes come and wash it out and falls into the ocean. You see, we think we know, but God does know. God knows what we need, and God provides it. Now, here's where a lot of people have some difficulty. God provides everything we need, and I believe that with my whole heart. But we can't just sit at the house and expect it to be brought to our door. We can't not do anything and expect to have everything we need, because God provides us with the ability to get the things we need. If it's getting a job, if it's taking a walk, if we want to be more healthy, let me give you a witness on this. If you want to be more healthy, it doesn't come automatically. I've waited and it has not happened. I want to be healthier, lose weight. You know what? And I waited. Nothing happened. Then I realized I had to do something about it. And I had to change the way I eat. And try to do a little more activity, but it's too hot. So maybe in the winter. Oh, come on. Some of you relate.
Get your wee.
We have even spoiled our animals. We have dogs, and they actually love it outside. So they go outside and then, oh, nope, too hot. Knock on the door to come back in. But see, God knows. And the thing is, God doesn't keep it a secret. It's not like, well, I know what you need, but I'm not telling you. I know what you need, but I'm not going to even make a way for it to happen. That is not God. God knows what we need, and God lets us know. You know, we've been talking the last couple of weeks about people praying about being on the board or being a delegate. And I had someone actually come up to me the other day and say, well, you know, I've prayed about it, and I think I'm supposed to. And I go, then you should. I mean, if we get the answer, but we don't like it, come on, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand, but I'm raising mine. You get the answer, you just say, well, no, not really. I don't think that's what I'm supposed to do. God knows. God knows what we need, and God knows what needs to happen for us to get it. But so often, we put ourselves above God, let's be honest. God knows what we need. God lets us know. God provides everything we need to be there, and we don't do it. Simple as that. We don't do it. And here's the thing, and I have to say this because I think it's really important for us. So often, we get the message, however it may come to us. It may come to us in our dreams. It may come to us all of a sudden. It's in our heads. It may come to us from other people. We get it, and then here's what we do. We get this message, and so we decide we have to verify it. Now, do we verify it with God? We go to another person. And we say, I've got this message from God. Do you think it's what I need to do? Now this person may not want me to do it. And it may be a part of our family. And in our family we say, I've gotten this message from God. I need to leave home. I need to go and be a missionary in some other part of the world. And Elizabeth says, I don't think that's the message. Of course, it's really the opposite in our house. I get the message and she says, yes, and you need to do it. But see, so often we rely on other people to verify our call from God. And I'm not saying some people don't verify it, because of course they do. But you need to trust God. If God calls you to something, God always, hear this, always provides everything you need to accomplish it. Amen. It's absolutely the truth. And I think as we celebrate creation, that's kind of something we need to really take to heart. Most of us have heard all about the danger our planet's in, how we're using resources, particularly in North America, at such a rate that people in the other parts of the world don't have those same resources. And we know because we're told in lots of advertisements and lots of information that we need to do something about it. Now, some of the things we're asked to do is to downsize and reduce our carbon footprint, you know, the kind of impact we have on the earth. We know we're supposed to do things like reduce, reuse, recycle. Let's say that together. Reduce, reuse, recycle. We know it, don't we? Yes? Anyone never heard that before? Because I want to know what planet you've been on. Yet, how many of us are doing it? How many of us just... You know, you open this package in the kitchen, right? And you have stuff that's for recycle, and you have stuff that's for garbage. And the garbage can's in the kitchen, but the recycle is not in the kitchen. And you go, it just won't hurt this once to just put it all in the garbage. Anybody else besides me ever thought about that? Of course, then I know that Elizabeth's going to check the garbage, and then I'm going to be in real trouble. But beside that. But we do know, and yet we make these decisions, don't we? That yes, I know this is what I'm supposed to do. It's what God wants me to do. It's what we have to do to care for the earth. But it's hard. But it's hard. My sister-in-law has sold her house in Pennsylvania. And she has moved to New York to be near the grandchildren. And any of you that have grandchildren know this. There's a metamorphosis that happens to grandparents. They're not the same people anymore. They think differently. They act differently. It's just weird. I mean, stuff that their children got away with, children didn't get away with, their grandchildren will get away with. And you spoil them, and then you send them home. It's a wonderful thing. So now she's up there so she can spoil them and send them home, and they don't have far to go. So she's up there. And she's been contemplating this move for over a year. And part of her responsibility in getting ready to move to a smaller house was to downsize stuff. Well, I heard this, and I thought, no, she's not going to do this. And Elizabeth said, oh, no, she's really going to do it. And I said, well, that's good. So last week was the move. And our nephew got help and got the truck and started the move. And then the word came that, well, not everything got moved. And then the word was there that this is a woman who, she was a librarian, retired as a librarian. Librarians have books at their houses. Librarians who have books at their library and they get weeded out, they come to their houses. Okay? And I don't think, and I might be wrong, Elizabeth says I should give her the benefit of the doubt. I don't believe she's gotten rid of one book. All these art books, I mean, her books are wonderful. I'm not saying anything about them. They're wonderful books. And yet, it's going to be a while for the grandchildren want to read these college-level books. And what she has is a library of her own. She really does. She should open it a couple of days a week, let people come and check out books. But how often do we have very good intentions? And Jan had wonderful intentions with downsizing, but our nephew, it's like, so I'll tell you a story because we'll never tell her. So if you ever meet Jan, you're not allowed to tell her, okay? Our nephew is the person who moves her, right? And he's a wonderful, wonderful young man. And when he moved her the last time, he told us there were still boxes he packed from the time before that, which were not open. So he got rid of them. Oh, I know. I shudder at the thought that one day she might remember something that was in one of those boxes, but I am also pretty sure she'll search the house and just think it's misplaced. So that took courage. You have to know, Jessie, to understand that. That took courage. And it may have been some wonderful, valuable thing in there, which we'll never know now, because those boxes are gone. But I thought, best intentions don't make things happen. Now, Elizabeth and I have talked about downsizing, not that we're moving anywhere, but that we have too much stuff. Does anybody else have too much stuff? Oh my gosh.
No.
Too much stuff. Do you know there are people who need your stuff? There are people who need your stuff. No,
Very
you're not
sorry.
wanted. There are people who need your stuff. Need it. How many of you, and I'm going to ask you to confess this, and I'm not going to ask you how many, but how many of you have more than one size of clothes in your closet? Just in case. I love it. So Joe says, just in case. Just in case you get bigger, just in case you get smaller, you can always have these clothes in your closet. There are people who need those clothes. Need those clothes. See, this is what we have to do to help care for the flora and fauna of the earth. We have to understand we do, most of us have more than we need. We really do. We have more than we need. I was going through my closet the other day and I thought, I don't remember that. And I looked at it and I thought, oh, I like that. I didn't take it out or wear it or anything like that. I just pushed it over. See, this is what we need to do, and understanding that every time we do something, every time we reduce, reuse, or recycle something, we are helping every bird, every tree, every flower. I know, you say, how in the world of me getting rid of some clothes helping that? Well, maybe it'll mean someone will use those clothes and not have to buy some. So it requires more resources to be used to make more. Maybe it'll give people an opportunity to use clothes, and maybe it'll make it possible for them to do things they wouldn't be able to do otherwise. I think about our friends in the woods, and we always see their needs are listed. And I think how precious, and I mean that, everything is to them. And how very careful they are with the things they get. Yeah, they don't have much room, so they have a limited place to store things, but they still take care of it. And how many of us have said it, and I know I've seen it, things are not made to last anymore. They're not. We had a refrigerator that was over 30 years old when it finally gave up. So we bought a new refrigerator and we had to have service right away because the ice maker stopped working. And the guy said to us, oh, they're not supposed to work. They're not supposed to work very long. I said, well. He says, I hope you have this service agreement. I said, yes. He said, you'll be using it.
I'd get a refund.
So it's like, if this is the way we're doing things, do you know everything God makes is made to last? Do you realize that? You see the trees? You see the flowers? You know, flowers are bloom and then they're gone. If they're annuals, you don't see them again. But perennials, you'll imagine they're gone, but they come back. Trees that you think are dead. And I had driven by this one. I know it is dead. They need to do something about it. But how often you just trim it back, and all of a sudden, there's new growth there. If God wants a tree there, let me guarantee you, a tree's going to be there. Whether you like it or not, whether it's the kind you want or not, there has to be a way for us to relate with the flora and fauna of the earth. I love so many states that are now putting wildflowers in the medians. You know, and they have a sign, do not mow, wildflowers plant. And don't they look beautiful? I mean, when I look at them, I think, yes. And then I think of our yards, where I am the first one to look at something. That's a weed. Yes, it does have a white flower on it, but it is a weed, and it needs to be pulled up, because if we leave it here, it will have little seeds, and then there'll be more of those with white flowers that are still weeds. What do we do? Elizabeth will let them all grow, I'll just tell you that. They get pulled up, mostly it's me, or I mow over them. But the whole idea is maybe if we just let our earth take care of itself. If we didn't plant the kind of grass that needs too much water because it shouldn't be planted in Florida, if we don't put a tree that is from up north here and expect for it to flourish. If we don't take the sea grapes that are further down the state and expect that they're going to grow here, because they're not, God has a provision for everything and a purpose for everything. And quite frankly, we need to get on the same page. Get on the same page as God. Maybe you're thinking about, how do we even know the page? Well, God lets us know the page. God always tells us the page, and all we have to do is turn to it, and everything we need is right there. I hope that all of you will consider your day and your week. And I hope you will pray that God shows you each and every day what your job is. Well, I don't mean the job you get paid for. I mean the job that God calls you to each day. Sometimes that will include making a phone call or a visit to someone who needs to hear from you. Sometimes God will put things in your path, and you'll know it was there for a reason. Last night, my graduating class from high school had a 70th birthday party, because almost every single one of us turned 70 this year. And it was such a cool thing. I've never heard of it before. We had our, reunions for graduation, but this was a 70th birthday party. Some of us are turning 70 this year. And all we did was sit, and they had a wonderful buffet, and we talked. And at the table, because you didn't come with a group, obviously, you sat with people. The table that I was sitting at, we were talking, and all of a sudden, one of the people at the table said, well, Diane Martin, I know she was the class behind us, but did you know her? And another person said, well, yeah, I did know who she was. And I said, Diane Martin, whose sister is Carol? And she looked at me and said, yes. Now, Carol was in the band with me. She was older. And so I found out that Carol has moved again, and that Carol now has to have a service dog. I had no idea. So I said to the woman, I said, tell Diane to please tell Carol I would love to hear from her, and that I think about her always, and let me tell you why I'm telling you. Carol was the woman who introduced me to MCC. She was living in Orlando. She took me to the first MCC service. What are the chances of 80 people in a room and I hear from the person who knows Carol's sister? I know. I have to talk to her. That's all there is to it. Elizabeth looked to see if she was on Facebook. We're going to trace her down, because that did not happen by accident. God knows that I need to say to her again, as I approach my retirement from full-time pastoring, you're the one who made all this possible. It was you who took the time to invite me to church in a place I'd never heard of, a gay church. I thought there was no such thing. And yet it changed my entire life. There are people in our lives who need to know how much we appreciate what they've done for us. It might be somebody you haven't been in touch with for a while. It might be someone who lives in your house, and you need to say to them, I just appreciate you so much. But all of this is to just remind us that when things like this happen, or a thought comes into our head, or something is in our path, it's for a reason. Scripture tells us that everything works to the good for those who love God. Everything. Good things, bad things. Everything works to the good. Sometimes we need to search out the reason. And sometimes it takes us a while to realize the good. But I know God is always faithful. And I know with God all things are possible. So as we celebrate creation these 4 weeks of September, the first 4 weeks of September, I want us to kind of get in touch with God's creation. Get in touch, experience, look out the window, walk outside. In the morning it's cooler. Walk outside. Go to a park. Experience God's creation. And when you experience, I hope you'll just do one thing. Say thank you. Please pray. God, we do thank you. We thank you so much for all of the creation that you have placed in our care. And God, we know we have not done the best job. And we know we can do better. So continue to remind us, continue to put things in our path that show us what you want us to do. And God, help us be faithful in our answers. Amen. Remain